I'm going to try and attempt to read Gregor the Overlander again. This is my take 2. First one didn't work, didn't record. So we left off in chapter 11 where one of the Underlanders landed on the council table with their bat, and they were in good shape. They were really bloody, and they were just been in a battle, and they flew in from the window and landed on the table in a crash landing. And the person who was on the bat rolled over and said, "The rats are coming." So, and then they died there on the table. So that's where we left off on chapter 11. Here we go. "Sound the alarm," shouted Vincus, and the place exploded in frantic activity. Horns began blowing. People rushed in and out. Bats swooped in for orders and disappeared again without taking the time to land. Everyone ignored Gregor as they shifted into emergency mode. He wanted to ask Vincus what was going on, but the old man stood in the high hall in a blur of bat wings giving commands. Gregor went out to the balcony and could see regalia swarming like a beehive. Many rats were coming. The Underlanders were going into defense mode. Suddenly he realized they were at war. The terrifying thought and the height of the balcony made Gregor lightheaded. As he stumbled back inside, a strong arm caught him. "Gregor, the Overlander, prepare yourself. We leave shortly," said Vincus. "For where? Where are we going?" said Gregor. "To rescue your father." Now, we can go with the rats attacking us and stuff. I mean, there's a war starting, right? "Not any war. We believe it is the war foretold in the prophecy of Gray, the one that many bring about, the complete annihilation of our people," said Vincus. "Pursuing the quest for your father is our best hope of surviving it," said Vincus. "I can take Boots, right?" asked Gregor. I'm taking Boots." He corrected himself. "Yes, Boots shall come," said Vincus. "What should I do?" "You said to prepare myself," asked Gregor. Vincus thought for a second and called for Merritt. "Take him to the museum and let him choose whatever he thinks may aid in his journey. Ah, here is the delegation from Troy," said Vincus. He stepped into another swarm of wings. Gregor ran after Merritt, who had sprinted for the door. 3 staircases and several hallways later, they arrived at a large chamber loaded with shelves. Shelves were loaded with stuff. "Here is which has fallen from the overland. Remember, what you choose, you must carry," instructed Marith, thrusting a leather bag with a drawstring in his hands. The shelves were filled with everything from baseballs to car tires. Gregor wished he had time to go through the stuff more carefully. Some of it had been hundreds of years old. But time was a luxury he didn't have. He tried to focus. What could he take that would help him on his trip? What did he need most in the Underland? Light! He found a flashlight in working condition and collected batteries from every electrical thing he could find. Something else caught his eye. It was a hard hat like construction wearers wore. There was a built-in light on the front, so they could see in the inky tunnels beneath New York City. He grabbed the hat and crammed it on his head. "We must go," ordered Merrick. "We must get your sister and take flight." Gregor turned to follow him and then saw it. Root beer. Honest to goodness, unopened, only slightly dented can of root beer. It looked pretty new. He knew it was an extravagance, that he should only take essentials. Oh, but he had to have it. It was his favorite drink. Plus, it made him think of home. He stuffed the can into his bag. The nursery was nearby. Gregor ran in and saw Boots sitting happily among 3 Underlander toddlers having a tea party. For a second, he thought he almost changed his mind and left her there. Wouldn't she be safer in this palace? But then he remembered the palace would soon be under siege by rats. Gregor knew he couldn't leave her and face that alone. Whatever happened, they would stay together. Dulcet quickly helped Gregor into a backpack and slid Boots inside. So it's one of those backpacks that carries kids. Catch cloths, she said, and a few toys and some treats. Catch cloths are diapers. Thanks, said Gregor, grateful someone had thought of the practical side of traveling with Boots. Fare you well, sweet Boots, said Dulcet. She kissed the baby's cheek. Bye-bye, Dulcie, said Boots. See you soon. That was what they always parted with at Gregor's house. Don't worry, I'll be back. See you soon. Yes, I will see you soon, said Dulcet, but her eyes were filled with tears. Take care, Dulcet, said Gregor, giving his hand an awkward shake. Fly high, Gregor the Overlander, she said. In the high hall, the mission was readying for departure. Several bats had lit on the ground and were being loaded with supplies. Gregor saw Henry hugging a painfully thin teenager girl goodbye. She was weeping uncontrollably despite his attempt to comfort her. The dreams, brother, she sobbed. They have worsened. Some terrible evil awaits you. Do not distress yourself, Nerissa. I have no plans to die, said Henry soothingly. There are evils beyond death, said his sister. Fly you high, Henry. Fly you high. They embraced, and Henry swung up onto his velvety black bat. Gregor watched nervously as the girl came his way. He could never think of the right thing to say when people cried, but she had pulled herself together by the time she had reached him. She held out a small roll of paper. For you, Overlander, she said. Fly you high. And before he could answer, she had moved away, leaning on the wall for support. He opened the paper, which wasn't paper, but some sort of dried animal skin, and saw that the prophecy of Gray had been carefully written upon it. That's so weird, thought Gregor. He had been wishing that he could read it again to maybe figure out more about it. He meant to ask Minkus, but had forgotten in the rush. How did she know I wanted this? He murmured to Boots. Nerissa knows many things. She has the gift, said a boy mounting a golden bat beside him. On second glance, Gregor realized it was Luxa, but her hair had been cropped off as close to her head. Really close to her head, so she had really short hair, like me without my bun, like if they had just chopped my bun right off. What happened to your hair? Asked Gregor, stuffing the prophecy into his pocket. Long locks are dangerous in battles, said Luxa carefully. That's too bad. I mean, well, it looks good short, too, said Gregor quickly. Luxa burst out laughing. Gregor the Overlander, think you my beauty is the only matter at such times? Gregor's face felt hot with embarrassment. That's not what I meant. She was like, do you think I worry about my hair when we're in a war right now? Come on, dude. All right, Luxa shook her head at Henry, who was grinning back at her. The Overlander speaks true, cousin. You look like a shorn sheep. All the better, said Luxa, for who would attack a sheep? Bah, said Bats. Bah! And Henry laughed so hard he almost fell off his bat. Sheep say bah, Boots said defensively, which set him off again laughing. Gregor almost laughed too. For a moment, he had felt as if they were among friends. But these people had a long way to go before he could consider them friends. To cover his slip, he concentrated on finding a comfortable way to carry his leather bag that would leave his hands free. He tied it to the side strap of his pack. When he glanced up, he found Luxa looking at him curiously. What wear you on your head, Overlander? She asked. Oh, it's a hard hat with a light, Gregor said. He flicked it on to show her. He could tell she was itching to try it, but she didn't want to ask. Gregor quickly weighed his options in his head. True, they weren't friends, but it was better to get along with her if he could. He needed her to get his dad. Gregor held out the hat. Here, check it out. Luxa tried to appear indifferent, but her fingers worked the light switch eagerly. How do you keep the light inside without air? Because they only have fire for light. They don't have light bulbs like we do. Does it not get hot on your head? She asked. It runs on a battery. It's electricity. And there's a layer of plastic between the light and your head. You can try it on if you want, said Gregor. Without hesitation, Luxa plopped the hat on her head. Vincus has told me of electricity, she said. She shot the beam of light around the room before returning it to Gregor reluctantly. Here, you must save the fuel. You will begin a new fashion, said Harry cheerfully. He grabbed one of the small stone torches off the wall and laid it upon his head. So he took the torch and he put it on top of his head because he was trying to make fun of Luxa. So the torch is a wooden handle that has fire on top. Makes me think of Indiana Jones. You guys know me. Always a reference. Okay, where did I leave off? Blah, 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 blah. It's a new fashion. He grabbed one of the stone torches off the wall and laid it on his head. Flames seemed to be shooting out of his forehead. What do you think, Lexa? He asked, showing his profile with exaggerated hauntingness. Your hair is alight. So she's like, your hair's on fire. She suddenly gasped and pointed. Harry dropped the torch and beat on his own hair as Luxa went into hysterics. Realizing it was a joke, Henry caught her in a headlock and rubbed her short hair with his knuckles while she laughed helplessly. For a moment, they could have been a couple of kids in the overland, just a brother and sister, like Gregor and Lizzie, wrestling around. Vincus strode across the hall. You two are in a merry mood, considering that we are at war, he said with a frown as he vaulted up on his bat. It's only an excess of spirits, Vincus, said Henry, releasing Luxa. Save your spirit. You will have need of it where we're going. Ride you with me, Gregor, said Vincus, extending a hand. Gregor swung up behind him as on his big gray bat. Boots kicked the sides with anticipation. Me ride, too! Me ride! She chirped. Mount up, said Vincus, and Henry and Luxa leaped onto their bats. Gregor could spot Soviet and Marith preparing to leave also. Marith was riding a bat he hadn't seen before. Probably his other bat was still recovering. To the air, ordered Soviet, and the 5 bats lifted off in a V formation. As they rose up in the air, Gregor felt like he would burst from the excitement and happiness. They were going to get his dad. They would rescue him and take him home, and his mom would smile, really smile again, and there would be holidays to celebrate and not to dread. And the music, and he was getting ahead of himself. He was breaking his rule left and right. In a minute, he would stop. But for that minute, he would go ahead and imagine as much as he wanted. He couldn't stop thinking about getting his dad back. He's really excited. I'm going to stop there for today, and we'll take up the next half of the chapter tomorrow. Bye, guys.